Friday afternoon broadcast of the first 50 years, brought to you by Tallman Home Federal Savings and Loan Association for savings, investments, and checking that works. Here's Marty Robinson.
The critic W.J. Henderson of the New York Sun, who had heard, among others, Adelina Patti, Marcella Sembrich, and Nellie Melba in their primes, wrote, on first hearing Amelita Galli-Curci, one of the most beautiful voices this public has ever heard. To Geraldine Farrar, Galli-Curci was as nearly perfect as it is humanly possible to be. And Harold C. Schoenberg, in an appreciation on the occasion of the singer's death, wrote, "This writer heard her but once, in 1929 as Lucia. He has the memory of a slight, diminutive figure on stage, but a figure with extraordinary appeal and projection. The voice in memory was an easy, unforced, silvery organ, happiest at the top of its range. And what a top! That high E-flat at the end of the mad scene reduced the audience to screaming animals. It was not big, but it was perfectly placed, secure on pitch, and seemed to go on and on." Unquote, Harold C. Schoenberg. That she was one of the most exceptional singers of all time is indisputable. But there was more to Galli-Curci, as there always is in a great artist. There was a tone quality so warm, so soft, so feminine, if you will, as to inspire in the listeners of her records nothing short of personal affection. Comme Autrefois from Bizet's The Pearl Fishers, recorded September the 9th of 1921. Amelita Galli-Curci was born Amelita Galli in Milan, of a Spanish mother and an Italian father, on November 18th of 1882, I believe. When she died in 1963, a friend, Ben Fletcher, who had known her for years, said her age was 81, although theatrical records indicated she was 74. He said she'd given the lower age for stage purposes, and the death certificate showed that she was 81 years old. Galli-Curci entered the conservatory in Milan at the age of 11 to study piano. She graduated there in 1903, winning the gold medal for that instrument. Here is a story that Galli-Curci liked to tell, in her own words. I remember that Pietro Mascagni, a great friend of my family, happened to be in our house the day I brought the gold medal home from school. I was very excited and didn't notice that he listened more attentively when I started to sing than he had while I played. Well, maestro, I asked, are you pleased? He looked at me and said, Lita, as a pianist, you will have a fine career, but as a singer, you will have a great one. According to several sources, including the New York Times, Galli-Curci never had a formal voice lesson and was completely self-taught. The singer herself delighted in claiming she learned to sing from the birds of my Italy. An orchestra leader happened to hear her sing Caro Nome at a private musical, and he also happened to know an opera manager who was looking for, in his words, a good but not expensive Gilda to sing in Rigoletto at Trani, a small town in southern Italy. Galli-Curci got the role for a salary of about $60 a month for the 3-month season. It was at Trani that she met her first husband, Luigi Curci, who was an artist and a member of the local nobility. She added his name to hers and thus became Amelita Galli-Curci, Marchesa di Cimeri. There followed engagements at the Teatro Costanzi in Rome, which led to a role of Violetta in Traviata at the Teatro Alhambra in Alexandria, Egypt. Galli-Curci's stunning recording of A Forse Lui and Sempre Libera from Traviata, recorded March the 7th of 1919. In the early months of 1910, Galli-Curci traveled to South America in the company of singers like Giuseppe De Luca, Riccardo Stracciari, Giovanni Zenatello, and Jose Mardones. Reviews of her appearances tell of applause reaching delirium. And now the 28-year-old singer returned home, to Milan, to the opera capital of the world, in triumph. Or so she thought. The director of La Scala invited her to make her debut at that house in La Sonnambula. Not, however, as Amina, but in the secondary role of Lisa. Galli-Curci, who was essentially a woman of great grace and sensitivity, could, when the occasion demanded, speak bluntly. She told the director, "I do not accept the role, and don't forget this, I shall never put my feet in this theater again." And, like Caruso, who was snubbed in his native Naples, she never sang in the great opera house of her native city. In 1912, Galli-Curci went to Catania, Sicily, to sing at the Teatro Massimo Bellini, to sing for the first time I Puritani. Wrote a reviewer of that performance, "To have heard such a marvelous singer in the role of Elvira, Bellini himself would have applauded until his hands burned." Qui la voce from Bellini's I Puritani. Recorded by Amelita Galli-Curci with flute obbligato by Manuel Berenguer on September the 14th of 1917. You're listening to the first of two programs on the first 50 years devoted to the art of this great coloratura soprano.
The first 50 years is brought to you on WFMT Chicago by Tallman Home Federal Savings and Loan Association. Tallman Home enjoys bringing you these programs and would enjoy serving you. Stop in at one of the Tallman Home offices in your own neighborhood. Tallman Home has its main office at 55th and Kedzie, plus 5 other full-service facilities on Chicago's southwest side and in the southwest suburbs. One in Garfield Ridge, another in Oak Lawn and Hazel Crest, too, and also in the Ford City and Orland Square shopping centers. You'll find each of these a nearby one-stop location where you can transact any or all of your financial business. If you live or work in this area or shop at Ford City or Orland Square, you can enjoy the convenience of handling all your checking, savings, or investment matters at the same time and place. Tallman Home's full range of services includes interest-bearing checking accounts and a variety of savings plans and high interest-bearing certificate accounts. To save time and travel, visit the Tallman Home Complete Financial Center near your home or place of business, or stop in at the Tallman Home office in the Ford City or Orland Square shopping centers on your next shopping trip to discover their well-known personal attention to each customer and account. Tallman Home is an equal opportunity lender.
In 1913, Galli-Curci made her debut in Madrid. The opera was La Sonnambula, and her associates were Mario Sammarco and Alessandro Bonci. The newspaper review in El Imparcial next day spoke not of the tenor or of the baritone, both world famous, nor of the royal family of Spain, which was in attendance at the performance, but only of the little girl from Milan. She is destined to achieve the fame of the divine Adelina Patti. And the reviewer continued, I have no remembrance of so spectacular an ovation, so sensitive, so colossal as that lavished last night on the eminent diva Galli-Curci. There was an even greater tribute, one that came from the Spanish poet, Luis Urbine, who was at that performance, and who said, she is the star of stars, an artist who sings not only with her voice, but also with her soul. Here is Galli-Curci's marvelously bouncy version of A non giunge from Sonnambula, recorded in September of 1924.
Piena,
Anon Junje from Sonambula, the role in which Galli-Curci made her debut in Madrid, Spain. From 1914 through 1916, Galli-Curci was so much in demand on the continent and in South America, one tour followed another. Italy, Russia, Spain again, and South America again. In September of 1916, loth to recross the Atlantic Ocean, which was full of German submarines, the singer went to New York from South America rather than return to Italy. Giuseppe Bambushek arranged for the Metropolitan's Giulio Gatti-Casazza to audition Galli-Curci. She was not hired. Gatti may have thought her inadequate. On the other hand, he was engaged to be married to the Met's reigning diva, Maria Barrientos. New York's loss was Chicago's great gain. William Thorner, the man who brought Rosa Poncell to Caruso's attention, knew Amelita from her Italian performances, and he called Cleofonte Campanini, the director of the Chicago Opera, to tell him about this young singer. She was signed to appear in two operas, a matinee Rigoletto and a Lucia a few days later. She would receive $300 for each appearance. Any further work would depend upon her performances. Fortunately for Campanini, he attended a Rigoletto rehearsal, and he heard Galli-Curci's Caro Nome. He immediately offered her a contract for the remainder of the season at $1,500 a performance. But there was to be no advance publicity. Chicago would discover the singer for itself. Galli-Curci's first appearance in the United States occurred on Saturday afternoon, November 18th, 1916. As the last note of Gilda's Caro Nome died away, the audience in the auditorium exploded in pandemonium. At intermission, people rioted in the lobby trying to obtain tickets for her Lucia 3 days later. Frederick Donaghy of the Tribune wrote, Galli-Curci, if Saturday's performance be a reasonable measure of her quality, is the greatest coloratura since Sembric. There was brain in all she did in Rigoletto, from her singing of Caro Nome to the manner in which she took her calls. And Herman de Vries wrote, in 30 years, I, veteran opera-goer, have never heard such matchless, flawless beauty of tone, so satiny a timbre, such delicately lovely phrasing, such innate God-given talent and feeling for the true bel canto. Galli-Curci's first records were made only a few weeks after that first U.S. appearance in Chicago. Caro Nome was her first record. The particular recording we're going to hear was made slightly later, on February the 2nd of 1917. It holds a special place in my heart. It was the record which inspired my interest in singers of the past. And apparently it holds the highest place in Harold C. Schoenberg's esteem. He has written of this recording. It is probably the greatest performance ever put on a disc. Geraldine Farrar's observation of Galli-Curci that she is as nearly perfect as it is humanly possible to be is not, as you have heard, mere hyperbole. Another thing about that record, aside from its perfection in singing and technique, and all of these electric recordings, or pre-electric recordings, they're acoustics, all that we've heard so far, is that Galli-Curci had such an affinity for the phonograph. The quality of the voice really comes through for recordings made between 1917 and 1920. We did hear one from 1924 in Anon Junji, but that too was acoustic. Galli-Curci's ovation after her performance of Karanome in her American debut at the Auditorium Theater lasted for over 20 minutes. But believe it or not, the one she was to get 3 days later, when she appeared as Lucia de Lammermoor, was to be even greater. An ovation which the city of Chicago has probably not seen the equal of in the more than 50 years that have transpired. With Lucia, Galli-Curci, as did Maria Callas some 3 decades later, brought back the splendor, the wonder of the old bel canto style. As the mad scene with the long flute duets, the intricate scale passages, and all the elaborate ornamentation neared its end, and her voice soared up to and sustained that E-flat in alt, the audience, according to reports, abandoned any aspect of formality, and chaos was rampant. Great waves of overwhelming applause thundered down on Galli-Curci. It was an unparalleled demonstration in the auditorium as well as on the stage. No one was prepared for the amazing exhibition she gave. The Mad Scene from Lucia di Lammermoor, beginning Il Dolce Suono, recorded by Galli-Curci with flutist Clement Barone. You're listening to the first of two programs on the first 50 years devoted to the art of Amelita Galli-Curci.
The first 50 years is brought to you on WFMT by Tolman Home Federal Savings and Loan Association. Tolman Home Federal believes checking funds should be put to work in a checking account that earns interest. That's why the managers and staff at Tolman Home's many offices are anxious to meet you and tell you about Tolman Home's checking that works. How your checking funds can earn 5.25% interest daily, no matter what your account balance, and incur no service charge with a $500 minimum balance or the purchase or retention of a Tolman Home 26-week $10,000 money market certificate. How senior citizens who combine checking with Tolman Home's direct deposit of retirement benefits incur no service charge with just a $10 balance. How checking that works, instant carbonless check copies provide accurate records with a space for indicating if payments are tax deductible. And how check safekeeping frees you from the responsibility of storing and safeguarding canceled checks. Tolman Home has years of experience helping people with their financial needs. Call or visit the office near where you live, work, or shop to see why you should make Tolman Home your full-service, one-stop financial center.
In her first Chicago season, Galli-Curci also sang in Romeo and Juliet, in Traviata, and The Barber of Seville. The following season, Chicago saw her first Lakmé. Her Gérald was the elegant French tenor Lucien Muratori. It was December 21st of 1917. second act of L'acme of Leo Delibes, Dove l'Indiana Bruna, The Bell Song, recorded March the 5th of 1917. In 1920, Galli-Curci divorced her husband of 10 years, the Marquis Luigi Curci, but she, of course, retained her hyphenated name, which was now world famous. In that year, too, she sang her first Sonnambula in Chicago. Her Alvino was a tenor new to the city, but destined to become almost as beloved a figure as Amelita herself. His name was Tito Schipa, and together they made beautiful music.
Che ti scherza col crine, col velo, sim del sol che ti mira dal cielo, del vivo che specchia ti fa. Addio, a me pensa, pur nel sonno il mio cor ti vedrà, pur nel sonno, il mio cor ti vedrà, pur nel sonno il mio cor ti vedrà, pur nel sonno, il mio cor ti vedrà. Addio,
The duet Son geloso del Zafiro in the first act of Bellini's La Sonnambula. Galli-Curci and Schipa. And so, having covered the career of Amelita Galli-Curci from its inception to the year 1920, we conclude this first of two programs devoted to her life and her art.
Tolman Home Federal Savings and Loan Association offers the full range of financial services, from investments to savings to checking that works. You're invited to listen again next Friday afternoon at 1 p.m. and Saturday evenings at 7 for another First 50 Years program, both brought to you on WFMT by Tolman Home Federal Savings and Loan Association.